While this replica shoots remarkably well and consistent, there are two huge reasons that I simply cannot recommend it. Firstly, the recoil is basically non-existent, but more importantly, the charging handle can be pulled back to reveal that this replica contains a gearbox. I find this completely unacceptable and must therefore not recommend buying this replica. Now that we're done reviewing this VFC AEG, let's proceed with the review of the gas blowback Scar H, also by VFC. Hey people, and welcome back. A buddy of mine recently picked up this replica at a swap meet at our local field, and was kind enough to let me make a review about it. This of course means that this is a used replica at the time of reviewing, and I do not have any playtime with this one. So my review will be solely based on the build quality, materials, and target shooting performance of the used replica I have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. So without further ado, let's get on with the review. The VFC Scar comes with an aluminum alloy upper receiver with an anodized finish, which has actually been holding up pretty well. At the very least, it is substantially better than the more typical powder coatings that are found on most airsoft replicas. I also very much love the tri-tone combination of bronze, tan, and black. These look absolutely fantastic together. My favorite part though is this beautiful full-length rail with the additional polymer rails on the side and another aluminum rail on the bottom. Here you have all the rail estate you could ever possibly need. On the front, we have an integrated flip-up iron sight and a Picatinny flip-up rear sight. These sights are pretty tall, but by using a riser, they flip up at exactly the right height to work as a backup without having to remove the reflex sight. The valve key can be removed to reveal a Torx key. This tool can be used to tighten or loosen many of the different screws in this replica, which is quite handy. The charging handle is reciprocating, which is to say it moves with each shot, like an AK. This of course means keep your thumb down if you like grabbing your replicas around the mag well. Also, if you're left-handed or simply prefer having the charging handle on the right side, this can easily be switched around, which I'll talk about in greater detail later on in the video. The lower receiver is made of polymer, so nothing too special here, but it does feel fairly thick, so hopefully it should be able to stand up to typical wear and tear. But I need to stop and talk about just how much I love this selector switch. It's clicky and it's tactile. It feels absolutely amazing. It's also firm enough that I'm not afraid that it will accidentally be switched during the heat of a game. And we of course have the folding stock, which is probably most well known for its resemblance to a certain article of footwear. Still, it is quite a versatile piece with adjustable comb and length of pull. I do like the numbered positions, which will make it a bit easier to find your preferred length again. Although I do find it interesting that the stock does not lock in the folded position, which my AEG Scar L does do. The magazine is beautifully wide and it comes out of the box with a Ranger plate, although this plate is unusually loose fitting on my replica. Looking at it closer, it seems that the notch holding it in place is slowly wearing down. Already the Ranger plate has come off during shooting. I'm very disappointed with the quality on display here. The magazine holds around 30 rounds on average and easily enough gas for 60 rounds. Additionally, if you plan on using this replica as a prop or just want to try dry firing for fun, you can easily switch to dry fire mode by holding this lever down and flipping this switch. This will deactivate the magazine catch so you can keep shooting even with an empty magazine. Okay, the last thing worth mentioning on the outside of the gun is the hop-up adjustment dial. It's located right down here. It is very easy to access with either your fingers or a flathead screwdriver. I was initially concerned with how far it sticks out. It looks like it would be pretty easy to accidentally adjust during a game. However, the screw is very tight, so I don't think it's a concern. The barrel on this replica is a bit long though. It's actually longer than the replica's original orange flash hider. So I would prioritize getting a suppressor or something to cover that thing up ASAP. Overall, the external build quality of this replica feels fantastic, other than the few issues that I mentioned, and I do not see any other components that particularly stand out as poor quality in either fit or material. Now it is time that we moved on to the inside of the gun. The field shipping process is quite simple, just like the real thing. First, push out the pin at the front, then rotate the lower receiver downward. let's go ahead and take a look at the fire control group. It may be a little difficult to see in the video, but there are notches cut into the hammer from contacting the bolt. Unfortunately, it also appears that the original owner was not aware that you absolutely must lubricate the moving parts inside gas blowback replicas before shooting. I'm sure that could have helped to prevent some of this wear. That being said, that does not excuse the fact that the fire control group is obviously made of lower quality materials. So I would just recommend buying a few spare parts for the fire control group and have them on hand when something does inevitably break. Next, let's remove the bolt from the upper receiver. Start by sliding the stock down and off. You can now see the base of the recoil spring. Pull the bolt back slightly and pull that spring out. Move the buffer forward until you reach the opening and pull it out too. I don't know what's up with the corner here. It looks like a factory defect or a failed project from the last owner. I don't know. And lastly, we can pull the charging handle all the way to the disassembly notch and remove it. Tilt the receiver and the bolt slides right out. There are very few steel parts in this replica. The trigger assembly and bolt are primarily an alloy of some kind. I'm hoping that they're an aluminum based alloy rather than zinc, but based on how quickly the hammer is being crushed, my guess is that it's the latter. Of course, springs, pins, and screws all seem to be steel. VFC did decide to reinforce some of the key components with steel. Specifically, there's a steel cap on the bolt, which interfaces with the steel bolt catch. So you shouldn't have to worry about the bolt catch breaking too quickly. Reassembly is equally easy. First, reinstall the bolts. Make sure to reinstall the charging handle on whichever side you prefer. Then the buffer, ensure that this side is facing forward. And the buffer spring. Slide the stock back into place and rotate the lower up and into the upper receiver. Do not force the lower receiver up. When it can't go any further, pull the bolt back slightly and finish inserting the lower. Now just push the pin back into place and you're done. Okay, let's quickly talk performance. As previously mentioned, my time with this replica has been quite short, so I'm going to have to keep this equally short. Cold weather performance is quite good. In 40-degree weather, I was able to use the magazine again for another 30-round fill. This is always a great thing. I think that it really helps how large the reservoir in this magazine is compared to the magazine capacity. However, I did find that you can easily overfill these magazines. If you do that, BBs will fall short, the bolt will fail to cycle fully, resulting in a failure to feed, and you'll just generally have a bad time. So I only fill for 4 to 6 seconds. That is more than enough gas for 30 BBs and will allow you to avoid the overfill issue. And most importantly, this thing can really hop. It can hop 0.32s like they're nothing. At the chrono, we can see that we're getting around 1.6 joules consistently. This is pretty hot for most fields, so you better start considering ways to lower this, either by making your own in-pass or sourcing a lower joule nozzle from somewhere. That is if you plan on using this as a rifleman. But actually, you don't, because VFC decided to include an in-pass out of the box. All you have to do is insert an Allen key into the nozzle and rotate to adjust the FPS. This absolutely earns this replica an extra star. All things considered, this is an absolutely amazing looking replica. The finish on the upper receiver looks great, and the externals seem to hold up to wear very well. Performance is good for a stock gas blowback replica. The real issue though, as with every GBBR it seems, is the low quality internals. I just wish more companies would switch to using steel fire control group parts. It would make these replicas so much more durable and make this such an easier recommendation. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Also, consider joining my Discord server. Link in the description and pinned comment. And until the next video, stay safe guys.